I'm Laura Capellabra and I'm the founder of Stress Matters. We help businesses understand their teams better by providing them insights into their well-being and offering support services such as mental health training to understand their team a little bit more, increase their well-being, which we know increases productivity and increases the profitability of their team. We're going to bring you this series of videos to give you a little bit of an insight into some of the things that you guys could be doing to try and improve the mental health and well-being of your teams. One of the conversations I've been having quite a lot with clients at the moment is around motivating the team. How do we motivate this team at the moment when we've got a really high pressure situation? A lot of businesses are absolutely on the brink of survival and they really need to make the next few months count. So how do you bring that team together when they've physically been apart, but quite often they've not been working together over the last few months as well? There may also have been some changes in the structure of the team, so we're potentially looking at a slightly different dynamic than when we went into lockdown as well. Whilst we're going through a pandemic, we're each having our unique experience of everything at the moment. Our living situations, our family situations, how comfortable we feel in technology, whether or not we've been working or not working recently, is all starting to impact how we're doing mentally. And because we're each having our own unique experience, we've each got our own unique challenges and thoughts about going back to the workplace if we've been out of it. And for managers and leaders, this is a really challenging time where what we're probably trying to do is reignite, restart our businesses with some team members that may have been in the business the entire time, working additional hours. We did a survey back in May that found that those that were still working in businesses in this industry were working 22% more hours on average than previously. So we know those that have been in the industry still, those that have been actively working, are working more hours. And those that have been on furlough are going to find it also tough to come back to work. One of the first questions I'm going to get you guys to think about is thinking about how much time you have spent burnt out over the last few months or bored out. So there's a really fine balance between burnt out and bored out. And it's essentially the challenge level that we're experiencing. Now, I've experienced burnout and it's not comfortable. There's a feeling of overwhelm, a feeling of loss of control, feeling of discomfort, feeling of anxiety. Now, the thing is, bored out is actually some of the similar symptoms. It's just from a different reason. So depending on what group of individuals you've got in your team, you might have people that are fitting into either one of those categories. And you may hopefully have some of those people that are fitting in that balance level as well. But as I said, first of all, I want you to think about how you're doing. You as a leader need to be in a sense of control. We want people to follow you. Think about how motivated you feel at the moment. Whereabouts on this curve are you? Are you in burnout or are you in bored out? So actually, once we've established how you're doing, it's going to be easy for us to think about the rest of the team. So ask yourself honestly, how are you at the moment? Are you feeling motivated? Ask yourself maybe what motivates you. When have you felt motivated over the last few months and when have you not felt motivated? The more we can start to understand ourselves, the far easier it is for us to be able to understand other team members and us to be able to motivate those team members. Where do you think your team members are on this curve? How much time have you spent thinking about how they're doing over the last few months? Hopefully you've spent a fair amount of time and hopefully you've been reaching out to them to check they're okay. But look at it now. Now we're in a position where hopefully you're bringing those people back into the business. Have a look at each of your team members and try and plot them on this graph. How do you think they're doing? And if you really don't know how they're doing, ask yourself when the last time you asked them was. It's easy for us to say at the moment there's a huge challenge in front of us and therefore we should all be motivated by that. But it isn't quite as simple as that. It needs to be the right kind of challenge for each individual. So as much as we're thinking about how we can motivate a team, we actually really need to be thinking about how we can motivate each individual within the team and then think about the common goal for the team. There's a great book by a guy called Dan Pink called Drive. It's about 10 years old now, but it's got some really good ideas around motivation in it. So we've all probably heard about the idea of the carrot and the stick, and that idea of hanging or dangling something in front of team members to make them feel motivated, such as money. So actually, how can we motivate people? Well, quite often we think, let's give them a bonus, let's give them commission, and that'll be what pushes them forward to achieve greater things. Now the situation is, what he found through his research was that actually that only really works if you've got a certain type of job. And that job needs to essentially be where there's only one outcome, and it's a very routine type of job. So think like factory line, for example. So what he found was that actually if you take money off the table, and what we mean by that is pay everyone a salary that means they don't need to worry about money, then actually whether or not they get slightly more money through commission actually isn't a motivator for them. What he found were there 3 other areas that really motivated individuals in those slightly more creative and dynamic roles. And those 3 areas are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And if we can find the right balance of mastery, autonomy, and purpose for each individual, then they get self-motivated. So hopefully you'll be pleased to know I'm not suggesting you all go out and give massive bonuses to your team to motivate them. What we need to do is do a little bit more thinking though. So I'd like you to ask yourselves, how much autonomy do you give your team at the moment? So how much freedom do they have to make their own decisions, make the right choices for them? Now it might be there's different levels, they have different levels of autonomy. So ask yourself within each individual, how do you think they feel about the autonomy that they experience? And the next area is around mastery. And what we mean by that is people want to develop, they want to be good at their job. So think about how much opportunity do you give your individual team members to develop their skills? Do you offer training? Now it might feel like a difficult time financially to start bringing in trainers, but actually this is the kind of time we need to be encouraging our individual team members to build on their strengths and to improve in that mastery area. So what skills can you give them to help them develop the mastery stage? And the last thing is about purpose, and this is a really important one. Now we might all be able to sit here and say, well, the purpose of what we're doing at the moment is to keep the business alive, keep the business going. But unfortunately that doesn't work so well for individuals. They need to think about their personal purpose and involvement in the situation. So be really clear with your team about what the overarching goal for the organisation is, but how they play a part in that. So bring that cascading level of goals and objectives down to what is the part they play, what is the role that they can take to actually achieve that bigger objective. Because the individual team members need to feel like they're adding something. They need to feel like they're part of the solution. As I said, ask yourself honestly about how much autonomy, mastery and purpose you think each of your individual team members, and of course yourself, have at the moment, and try and focus on each of those areas for each of your team members. Now this doesn't need to take hours doing this process. It can be a case of thinking for 5, 10, 15 minutes per person, but that time is going to be well spent in terms of ensuring that they are motivated. And we know that if somebody is motivated and they have a good sense of well-being, actually they're more productive and they're more profitable for you guys as an organisation. So it's a really important process to go through. Now, once we've managed to increase the motivation of each team member, we need to make sure they're pulling in the right direction, and that's a really important piece. It's great to have motivated team members, but unless they're moving in the same direction, then that's not going to help you as a leader or as an organisation. So we need to be really clear. As I said, a little bit of that's going to come from the purpose and the cascading that purpose down to the individual team members, but also working as a team and understanding what the team dynamic is going to be going forward. Now, we've probably all got a little bit fed up of virtual pub quizzes with team members over the last few months, and those daily and weekly check-in calls have probably started to become a little bit more sparse nowadays. So think about what the team dynamic is going to be going forward. Have you talked really honestly with each individual about how they feel about coming back into the actual workplace? Have those return to work conversations, understand where people are feeling, but also understand how they're doing right now in themselves. Your next tip is about being honest with your team members. You're going to hire these team members hopefully because they're intelligent, they're good at their job and you trust them. Now, it's not going to take a genius to appreciate that actually a lot of us are going to be feeling the huge amount of pressure at the moment. So let's be honest with our team members about the challenge that's in front of us. Sometimes as leaders we think we need to be really upbeat and really positive and really optimistic about what is going on. And yes, we want to be optimistic, but we don't need to wash over the fact that we're in a challenging time. Now we've got to find that balance between doom and gloom and positive optimism to try and motivate individuals, but be honest with them. Actually, if you're going to go through a really tough time and there's a potential of restructure, be honest with them about that. It's far more comfortable for individuals in the team to know what's potentially going to happen than feel like they're being surprised by something. quite like to be a high level of overtime at the moment. As we said, there's going to have been an increase in working hours for those that have been working the whole way through, but even those that are coming back on furlough are probably going to be doing more hours than they would have done before. Now hopefully your team are going to be motivated to do that because they want to be part of the solution, but don't let that go unnoticed. It's really important that we recognise the efforts of team members at the moment. So we think about reward and recognition, focus on the recognition part. The reward bit can wait. Actually, how can we recognise that team members are doing a really good job? And it's really simple. Sometimes we just need to say thank you. We don't say it enough. Sometimes as leaders, we just expect somebody to go above and beyond. So actually just the basis of saying thank you to somebody when they've gone above and beyond or when they've worked extra hours can go a really long way for individuals. But also potentially, depending on that individual, sometimes people really appreciate a little thank you note or a little thank you card just on their desk or sent to their house to say thanks for all your hard work recently. These things aren't high-level rewards. They're not things you're going to need to get budget sign-off or get approval from somebody else to do, but actually showing a little bit of humanity and being thankful. And when somebody is putting in that many extra hours, we want to keep them motivated. They're going to know, because you're being honest with them, that the idea of big bonuses and big rewards is probably out of the picture right now, but there's no reason why thank you can't be said. To recap then on some of our top tips, one of the first ones is understand yourself. Think about how you're doing at the moment. Are you in burnout or bored out? How motivated do you feel? And then really importantly, ask the question of your team. How do you think they're doing? And if you don't know, ask them how they're doing at the moment. Do they feel motivated or not? Because it might be they feel motivated, you just don't see it in the output. Let's understand that by talking to them. How much autonomy, mastery and purpose is built into each individual's role. And again, if you don't know, ask them. You can ask them how they feel in terms of the control and the level of autonomy they have in their role. If needed, train your team to increase the level of mastery that they might experience and be really honest with them about the situation to help build on that purpose part. Thank you guys very much for listening. I hope you found that helpful. Please do let me know how you get on with motivating your team, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have if you want to drop me an email on the details on the screen now. Thanks very much everybody, and good luck and stay safe.